What is up, guys? We're back with another episode of The Devil on G-String. Last we left off, they had Usami and Kyousuke at Tsubaki's house waiting for the trade-off. And now we're here with Tsubaki sitting on the floor. Let's get right into it. Tsubaki sat on the floor with knees bent, sighing out her feelings of tension and despair. Her brother has been kidnapped for 2 days, but to Tsubaki it's felt like an eternity. She's taken time off of school by pretending to be sick. Even though lying hurts like a knife in her heart, she can't tell the school the truth. Ooh! Her father spoke, a haggard expression adoring his features. Her mother isn't feeling well. When she heard of the kidnapping 2 nights ago, she fainted on the spot. 3 of her siblings are sleeping in another room. When they learn of Hiroki's absence, they screamed and cried. Even though they've been told that Hiroki is at their grandmother's house, the kids are sharp. They've probably noticed the gravity of the situation through the heavy atmosphere. This family used to be cheerful, always full of smiles. The mother, physically weak but good at cooking. The children, always arguing about this or that. The father, stubborn on the outside but fond of doting on his daughter. Why did this have to happen? The sighing won't stop. This misfortune is just cruel. Why did the kidnapper pick us? And why Hiroki? What could be happening to him right now as I sit here? If I could, I would take his place. Even though Tsubaki has already decided not to show weakness before either her family or the culprit. Right now, the ones in the most pain are her father, who had to give up his prized land, and her mother, who had the child she's carried for 9 months taken away. God, that was hard to read. The sound of the cell phone mingled with Haru's low voice as it echoed around the narrow family room. What's the culprit trying to achieve? Calling Haru's phone. Tsubaki watched Haru. She brought the cell up to her ear in a calm fashion. Her expression was dignified. She was no longer the Usami Haru Tsubaki had met at the school. Her timid back hunched over like a willow branch. Haru suddenly spoke. What does Maou mean? Not even an iota of humor accompanied Haru's absurd question. Tsubaki, on the other hand, was completely confused. What are they talking about? Tsubaki's mind is immersed in chaos. This interaction makes it sound like Haru and the kidnapper know each other. Having her name suddenly called almost made Tsubaki jump out of her skin. Haru handed over the phone after finishing the sentence. Tsubaki gulped. She took the phone, still on the line. Her hands were shaking uncontrollably. She has to speak with the kidnapper once again. Closing her eyes, she pulled the phone up to her ear. The voice was different. This wasn't a robotic voice like before, but the unadulterated voice of a man. It was a strange feeling. The kidnapper addressing her by her first name. Maou then gave her his next instructions. Tsubaki quickly opened her diary and wrote down the directions. Facing a sudden question, Tsubaki sank into confusion. She wrote furiously, not having even a second to question the kidnapper. After writing everything down thoroughly, Tsubaki finally got a chance to take a breath. Tsubaki thought to herself, why does he want me to do all these roundabout things? I didn't call the police, and I'll give him the ransom just like he wants. So please, just return my brother. The thoughts in her heart slipped out. The kidnapper interrupted her. She instinctively yelled a response. Laughter came from the other end of the line. A voice almost like a whisper swirled around her ears. Tsubaki was speechless. Not a single word would come out. The culprit spoke again to the befuddled Tsubaki. The exchange. That means the role of bringing out the ransom tomorrow has fallen onto Tsubaki's shoulder. Just when she was about to tell him to wait, she was greeted with the steady tone of a dropped call. Extreme fatigue attacked her. Haru looked at Tsubaki's face with probing eyes. Tsubaki flipped through her diary and repeated everything to Haru. Haru silently listened to Tsubaki's doddering explanation. Haru passed it over as she spoke. Tsubaki tilted her head and asked the question.
Maou? So, Maou だ。Maou っていう人が犯人なの？ああ。
Haru nodded.
知り合いなの？
Haru hesitated for a moment at Tsubaki's question.
知り合いというわけではないが、椿は声に聞き覚えがなかったか？
Uh-oh.
声？犯人の声だ。
Tsubaki reflected one more time. The kidnapper's baritone was full of allure, full of confidence.
いや、わかんないな。どこかで聞いたことがないか？そう言われても。
Grilling me on it, won't? Just woke up, guys. Sorry about that. She rarely hears the voices of men. The only impressionable one belongs to Azai Kyousuke. When Kyousuke talks on the phone, he sometimes uses an oppressively cold tone, a tone which frightens her into a cold sweat. Almost unable to stop herself from saying Kyosuke's name, Tsubaki started to panic. Azai-kun can't be the kidnapper. A wave of embarrassment suddenly assailed her. If Kyosuke hadn't helped her family, might not even have the ransom right now, and even talk to them about the land. Kyosuke might come off as a lazy playboy, but he's actually a gentle, reliable person. As that thought sprang to Tsubaki's mind, it was accompanied by an image of Kyosuke's face that he's passionately going off about classical music. A fire burned in her chest. Uh-oh. Tsubaki, trapped in a dream, was suddenly pulled back to reality. Snap back! Haru stated her resolution. Tsubaki's father, who had been silent up until now, took that as a cue to speak. The man stood up with great effort. Hearing this, Tsubaki became flustered. The kidnapper promised. If they follow his orders, he'll release Hiroki. Just as Tsubaki was going to question Haru, her father held out a hand to stop her. Haru lowered her head slightly. Haru gave Tsubaki a reassuring smile. Otosan. Oh shit, my bad. Haru looked as though she disapproved of the thought. What is Haru trying to say? Tsubaki wasn't able to concern herself with the criminal's personality. In her mind, simply the act of kidnapping alone made him nothing but an object of fear. Tsubaki's father was right. And that moment is... Indeed, the criminal has even said that he wants to meet Tsubaki. She may actually end up coming face to face with him. Tsubaki's father shook his head. Whoa, that's you shouldn't say that with the family. Tsubaki interrupted and Haru stared at her. Her father smiled weakly. A ferocious battle is waging in his chest. If the police aren't called and the criminal's orders are followed, it would mean losing the land that he protected up until now. This is the first time that Tsubaki has seen her father in so much pain.
正直どうしていいのかわからないんだ。今すぐにでも受話器を掴んで警察を頼りたい気持ちもある。ただそれをやると確実にヒロアキは帰ってこないんじゃないかという恐怖も大きい。
お察しします。
椿は宇佐美さんの意見には反対なんだな。
Facing her father's inquiry, Tsubaki hesitated on her reply. A feeling similar to guilt began to sprout within her. Rather than her friend Haru, she chose to follow the instructions of this cruel, faceless criminal. Haru averted her eyes.
私に人の家庭の事情に口を挟む権利なんてない。ずけずけと勝手なことばっかり言って本当にごめん。
Go in. Tsubaki felt pricks of pain probe her chest. The girl who calls herself a hero was only proposing to the others what she felt was the best course of action. Tsubaki wanted to at least take her feelings into consideration. After much agonizing deliberation, Tsubaki finally spoke up.
お父さん、ごめん。やっぱり警察は怖いよ。だって私は犯人の声を直接聞いてきたもの。本当に怖い人だと思う。警察だけは絶対にダメだと思う。
He nodded
で
deeply.
もはるちゃんの言うことも合っているように思う。犯人を捕まえたいとも思う。椿だからはるちゃんには自由にしてほしいな。
Tsubaki smiled with Tsubaki's smile was answered with Haru's.
ありがとう。魔王をやっつけるのが勇者様でしょ。
Her father also gave a satisfied smile.
明日は大丈夫か、椿。お前の身も心配だ。できるなら代わってやりたいが。
いいよお父さん。ありがとう。
Tsubaki's father relied on her. She realized recently that, as the eldest child, she has always been the family center.
よし、じゃあ子供たちを起こしておいでご飯にしよう。さあ、母さんも起きた起きた。
自分も一緒させてもらえると食費が浮いて大変嬉しいのですが。もちろんだよ。みんなで食べよう。すいません、厚かましくて。
The night grew deeper, even from within the dark, wintry abyss that had been thrust upon this family. A single flower finally bloomed. Oh my god, guys. What is gonna happen? So I'm pretty excited for tomorrow, which is I guess today, with all the Maou stuff. So I hope you guys come visit me on the next episode of The Devil and G-String, and we'll be back soon. See you guys.